Welcome to the Spearo Hangout, where we talk all things spearfishing, freediving and foraging. We're three guys from Devon in the UK who are excited to share some of the learnings from our spearfishing journey with you over the coming episodes. We bring in some special guests along the way to help spread some in-depth Spearo knowledge from some of the most experienced people in the scene. Lads, how you doing? Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas. How's it going?
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yeah, how you lads doing? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. How was your Christmas?
Yeah, not too bad. Haven't been in for ages because I've got the lug. But
Again? Oh, dear, mate.
Yeah.
How's it going
around there? Yeah, that's fine now. Now I've got the lug. Just never ends there.
Never ending sob story.
Yeah, you've been out recently, haven't you, Ben?
Well, yeah, I say recently. It wasn't that recently. I've been ill in between as well, and the weather's just been pants, hasn't it? But yeah, me and Lawrence went for a nice dive down in our favourite brill spot, but we didn't catch anything. Just saw a couple of place imprints. Freed some little crabs from some pots that have been busted up by the recent bad weather, but. Yeah, that's it. It was nice to get in. It's always nice to get in, right? And my stress levels were, down at a normal level for about a few days afterwards. It's unfortunately
it
not
sucks
back in.
So bad when you blank it, doesn't it?
Yeah, really frustrating. And it's the first time I've blanked in ages, actually, and we weren't expecting it. We got there, and you drive over the hill in this place, and you can see kind of the bay, and we could see how clear it was. It looked like 5-6+ meters viz. It wasn't quite that good in the end, but I mean it was still beautiful, and we were so excited, like we're gonna get some place and some brill or whatever, and nothing. Yeah, gutting. But nice to get out. Always nice to get out. And need to get out again soon, especially with you guys, because we haven't been out together in months.
Yeah, months, man. Crazy.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last time
today, did you?
Yeah. So for those that aren't aware or aren't obviously in the know, the podcast that you're going to be listening to shortly was recorded probably a couple of weeks ago, of which I unfortunately couldn't attend because I think, if my memory serves, I had my hands in the arse of an engine of some description. I think, or I was doing something else. I can't remember. So it was just Ben and Rich. And then, they're now like 2 weeks on. I've been out today with family on the boat. First and probably last day of this year that we actually had some decent weather locally. No viz for spearfishing, but it was my other half, Rachel, my grandfather, and my son, one of my sons. And we got 50 plus mackerel and 4 just over £3 whiting.
That's sick.
Off the boat. So it was absolutely gorgeous. Cold, about 9 degrees, and the water was around that as well. But absolutely amazing. So I was just spent the whole day unhooking fish for them because we were only out for 3 hours and we caught that many fish. It was just insane. But no, that's perfect awesome. Day.
Nice, man. That's awesome. And you got some other exciting news, haven't you?
Don't know what you're on
about. We should start probably calling him Sir now, shouldn't we, on the podcast? He's not going to
I was going to say
Lord, something like that.
I don't understand. There was no royal music that started this podcast. A little bit of news. So the BSA AGM meeting, or the British Spearfishing Association, I can't talk for save my life tonight, but British Spearfishing, still can't do it, Spearfishing Association annual general meeting, I can say that 4 times fast, was held, Christ, it's got to be over a month ago now, isn't it?
Yeah. I think
beginning of December, 3rd of December, I think it was. Okay. And anyway, the meeting was going really, really well. And at the end of the meeting, everybody was appointing, or sort of like the positions were being put forward. And I went quite quiet, not anticipating to then put my own hand up for BSA chairman position. So got that. And then put Richard's hand up I put Richard's hand up for the social media position. and then also kind of pushed Ben into the website position. So it's been an interesting end of the year. But, and I'm sure Rich and Ben will say in a second, just to clarify, the position that I hold within the BSA as the chairman has absolutely nothing to do with anything that is said in the Spiro Hangout or anything I say personally, unless I am talking to people about BSA business. I am still going to be as abrasive and offensive in the podcast as I always have been. But that does not mean, obviously I'm now going to be even more well behaved when actually fishing. But no, if anybody ever has any questions about, spearfishing in the UK and how the BSA acts or can help you, then reach out to me or any of the committee members, which obviously Richard and Ben now are. So reach out to us, ask us questions. But yeah, hopefully we can, take the BSA and make it even greater than it already is, and give it a bit more time than it's had recently. So no, I think it's fantastic, and I'm extremely excited.
Good. Yeah, I think it's really exciting, and congratulations, mate. I think it's an exciting new era for the BSA, and looking forward to seeing what the future holds. I think it's I think we've all got some good ideas about how we can move things forward over the coming year, and it's nice that people felt that we could represent them. That's ultimately what it is, isn't it? It's about representing spearfishing in the UK and doing what absolutely. We can to forward the things that the members want from spearfishing. I think
the same conversations that we've had in the past about things that have happened to us in Facebook and personalities and stuff. There's the old adage that I always say is you're never going to be able to please everybody. Yeah. But I'm always going to be an open door to people, and I hope the BSA is going to be an open door to people asking questions and having opinions and stuff. They might not necessarily be the opinion of everybody. And the BSA is a member-led organization or association that, and with that, it's a majority vote. If 80% or 51% of people decide that, RAS are the enemy and we are just absolutely going to destroy them, then that's what we're going to do. Even if I disagree with things, or any of the other members disagree with things, unfortunately, it's a majority thing. But we are going to push. I believe we're going to push sustainability this year, and that will also maybe change a couple of things in competitions. Again, I can't release too much information until we've had votes and stuff. But for the likes of RAS, in competitions where they're caught and thrown in a dump, effectively. Things like that from a sustainability point of view, the UK, I don't believe, needs to have. So that will be something that we'll put to vote. But again, if you've got any questions or anything you want answered or any knowledge or you just want any information, just message us. It'll be fine.
Yeah, man. Well, congrats, dude. And just a quick question. Does this increase your spearing capability by any means?
Yes. Of course it does. I mean, I'm the king of spearfishing in the UK now. So, okay. No. we don't need my head getting any bigger. We fucking know that. No, to be honest, I mean, personally, I'm this year for competitions, although I did enjoy the competitions last year, I'm not going to be competing myself this year. I'll be running safety boat, but I will be at every event.
Yeah, that's all, man. Well, today we got on one of our very highly anticipated guests, which, as you say, we recorded a couple of weeks ago. We were meant to drop it over the festive period, but unfortunately, I've got a lurgy, so that's why it's not dropped yet. But yeah, shall we get into it?
Let's get into it.
I'm already listening to it, and you boys do amazing. So you listeners are in for a treat.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm very excited to be on my first ever podcast.
Oh, it's amazing, mate. We're really excited to have you. We've been talking about having you on for quite some time now, since the very beginning. So, yeah, really glad you could make it.
And your first podcast. That's awesome.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I did have a cameo on Noob Spiro.
Oh,
It's
did
very
you?
lucky to be chosen as one of the top 20 YouTube channels for spearfishing,
Nice.
Oh,
which was
nice.
quite a surprise. Yeah, so I recorded a short bit for them. But yeah, this is my first kind of live experience.
Oh, epic, man. We're actually we're going on with Shrek in the new year, aren't we, Ben?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, just need to arrange a date now, don't we?
Yeah. That's gonna be cool, man. Yeah, that's awesome. So, did you want to kick us off then? I mean, obviously everyone knows who you are, but do you want to kick us off and tell us who you are and what you're all about?
Well, yeah, so I'm Joe Pike, and actually, as of September 2021, spearfishing's really been my kind of full-time occupation. So I was a teacher for 6 years. Um, but as of last September, it's kind of been a three-pronged attack. I've been helping my friend Barkley run the spearfishing store, which is now Start Point Spearfishing.
Mhm.
We've obviously had the YouTube channel now for nearly 10 years, so I'm continuing to make YouTube videos.
Wow.
And also, I've been doing some work for dear old chef Mike Robinson, and filming for the outdoor TV as a cast member for a show, which is pretty good fun. And
That's
the
epic.
main role is spearfishing.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
amazing.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, Mike's such a good guy as well. We had him on the podcast,
Mm.
and yeah, he's an absolute legend.
Yeah, I had a listen. He's a real character, I must say. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he really is.
And when
that's
did it
cool.
when did it all start for you, like spearfishing wise, Joe? Like, was it when you were younger, or like how did you get into it?
Well, spearfishing itself, I really started it was the summer of 2013. And we had some amazing weather. I'd say we had kind of 6 weeks of sunshine reggae and amazing visibility.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's the journey started then, and it hasn't stopped yet. That's for sure.
Did you
Yeah.
see someone doing it like that just made you think, oh, that looks really cool, could I have that go? Or how did you get
So
started?
the real catalyst for me was my brother-in-law, and he's one of these guys that's kind of really talented at everything from kite surfing to skiing, spearfishing being one of them. And he sent me some photos with him with I think there's a couple of grey mullet and some bass, and I thought,
Yeah.
wow, that looks amazing. Because actually, before spearfishing, in sort of years before that, I've always been a very keen hunter. So my dad brought me up shooting, mainly rough shooting, pheasants, pigeons, rabbits, and stalking as well. So it's always been part of me enjoying wild food. I love knowing where my food comes from. So when I saw my brother-in-law James, with these fish and spear gun, I thought that looks amazing. I want to try that.
And did you dive
That's
before, or like scuba or snorkeling or anything like that?
Ben, to be honest with you, I had absolutely no idea what was going on in the sea at this time. I mean, the sea to me, I couldn't have told you anything about it.
Really? Because you come across as so knowledgeable on your videos. Like you obviously kind of picked up quite a bit, and then, well, I suppose it's 10 years, quite a long time in a way.
It's a long time.
I
man.
think during that time, it's been quite an intense, thorough activity for me. I love it so much. So I spent a lot of time in the water over those 10 years. Some people might dive once or twice a year, whereas I'm diving once or twice a week. So I spent a lot of hours in the sea. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's so good. And how did you know what gear to get and stuff like that? How did you get started? I mean, I guess you got your brother-in-law on one hand, but was he like a really good, really experienced kind of spearfisher, or was he just thought it looked cool and had a go?
So James was he wasn't massively into it. It was usually something he did if the weather was really good in the summer. He was one of those people, like I mentioned earlier, he'd go out once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And during that summer, it was so good. He decided to go a few times because even the visibility in the local area, to me, which was Torbay, it was 10 plus meters easily. It was crystal clear.
Nice.
And it just so happened that down the road from me in Paynton was the spearfishing store. And Anthony, who worked there at the time, ran the show there. So suddenly realized 10 minutes away from my house was a spearfishing store. So I went down with my brother-in-law. I got myself a Cressy Comanche 75 and
We still got it?
a mask. I think, yeah, I still got it. It still does the job. I didn't have a big budget, so I used just a wetsuit I already had, some short flippers I had. I didn't even have a weight belt. So yeah, it was just a gun and mask to start with. And it was that way for probably 2 years. Didn't really get much more.
Did you catch much the first couple of years without a weight belt?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds terrible, but I guess weight belt, I did use occasionally. I would use like a leather belt with a couple of dumbbell weights.
Yeah, we've heard some stories.
We've heard
various people.
But I was so shallow. I mean, I wasn't really diving, to be honest.
Yeah.
But when I did dive, I was probably diving to 2 meters.
Yep.
And that was plenty, as you know, to get bass and mullet and mackerel.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're giving me flashbacks talking about the old shop in Baington. That's where I went to go get my first gun, and my brother has it now. And as you say, he's one of those guys that just hunts once a year, twice a year, and it's rusty as anything, and still shoots fish. So it's awesome, yeah. But yeah, that's giving me some real flashbacks. That so what was the inspiration behind the YouTube channel when obviously you started getting spearfishing? You obviously had the YouTube channel before that, I take it.
Yeah. So I had it when I was at university because me and my housemate Ben we played the guitar and made songs together. So we I just started a YouTube channel, and I didn't even bother typing my full name in. I just put Joe PK out of laziness instead of Pike, and then yeah. Well, exactly. I tried to change it at one point, and I changed it for about 6 months, and people were still calling me Joe PK. So I thought,
even I do it every now and then on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, Joe PK, and then I'm like, oh, no, hold on, Joe Pike.
It is what it is. I think it was the GoPro Hero 3, the time when I kind of started, had come out, and it's still a pretty good action camera today. And I'd seen a few videos of people in the Mediterranean, most YouTube videos with the Mediterranean, and they all had the gun cam where it was stuck on the side of the gun. So I took one of the screws out the gun where the line guide is, and put just screwed on a little piece of wood.
Yeah.
I think it was a brick from a toy box actually. And then I super glued the GoPro mount on top, and that lasted a few years.
Nice. And did you start with like the old school kill montage? I say old school like I know what that means. I've only been doing this for a year, but as I understand it, according to Dan Mann last week, there was lots of kind of like kill montages where it's just people like gunshots, and that's pretty much it. Whereas your latest stuff, at least, is certainly more like storytelling. This is what I did, and you narrate over it. Did you start out like that, or has that kind of evolved over time?
Yeah. No. So I very much started out with kill shot after kill shot.
Yeah.
You might occasionally have a nice scene I captured above the water by accident, but it was very much, it was quite simple. But Dan Mann, as you just mentioned, to be honest, I would probably say he was obviously massively influential on spearfishing videos.
Yeah.
And I certainly was inspired by him, I must admit. After watching some of his videos, discovering his channel as it started to grow, I thought, oh, this is amazing, actually, to show the journey and not just the kill shots. And instead of having a video every few months where I compile the kill shots, I could have a go at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. He's Dan's given us some very interesting questions for you at the end as well. Actually, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I haven't seen them yet.
Me. Yeah. To be honest,
I can see them.
He held back a bit.
Oh, maybe there's some of those we can't read out.
Some boy.
So have you ever done a spearfishing course as such, or like when you first started out, did you ever do anything like that, or have you just spent time in the water and just learn as you went?
So to be honest, for the first few years, really muddled my way through things. And I'm a bit stubborn like that. I do like trying to work things out for myself. In hindsight, it wasn't really the right way to go about it at all. And no, I haven't done any courses, but in recent years, I've been quite fortunate to dive with some very experienced people that I've learned a lot from. And, honestly, if the more experienced people you can dive with, the better. There's nothing like diving with someone who's, to throw a few names out there, obviously, diving with Dan Mann, diving with people like Max the Frenchman, Corey Jamshidi, more recently Mark Tilley, who's a free diving instructor. I've been really lucky to dive with these people and pick up so many things. But that said, I do really want to do a free diving course at some point, for sure. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Just shows you can't beat time spent in water, can you? Like, that's the main thing, isn't it? I mean, obviously doing the courses is great to give you that sort of instruction and knowledge, but I mean, you dive some pretty deep depths already, don't you?
I mean, I do feel really comfortable in the water, and I'm not saying that's, obviously you want to be as safe as possible, and that's where I think a course is really good to make sure.
Yeah.
But, I don't hyperventilate, and I love being in the water, and I do find it. Well, I think an important thing to point out is I've taken it quite gradually. I expect over the 10 years, I'd say about 3 meters a year. Looking back, I've probably increased. It's not been dramatic gains quickly. I can tell you it's been very gradual.
Cool.
And do you still have anybody that you look up to? I guess at the start of our journey, there's always people that we go, oh yeah, I want to be like them and I want to shoot fish like them and that kind of stuff. Like, is anybody, 10 years on that you still think, oh wow, that, that's still something to really aspire to? You've already mentioned Dan Mann, especially from a video production point of view. Is there anybody else that you might add to that list?
So Kevin Daly, for sure.
Yeah.
He was him along with Nick Collins, who you probably also know. He's local to Plymouth. Kevin's more local. He'd dive more towards the east, like Bognor area. But those two were making videos before me, long before me. And I think they really did inspire me with what they were doing. And back then, obviously, the cameras weren't that sophisticated, but, seeing Kevin hunt in the water was just mind-blowing, to be honest.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And I think that, it also inspired me to start filming in the first place, coming back to your point earlier, because there was very little UK content. I mean, only going back 10 years, there was very little. So I thought, share my adventures from this side,
Yeah, it's awesome, mate. I'm really glad you did it. One of the other, I think I said last week, you and Dan Mann, your videos kind of made me get up and out of my my TV watching over COVID and go and get some stuff and get down there. So thank you, mate.
So good to hear.
Yeah, awesome. No, I've loved the content for years as well, man. Even I immediately started watching it after I started spearfishing, but yeah, again, been following you for years, man. It's really cool to have you on and actually be able to get down and find out everything about you. So it's really cool. Just going back to like obviously what you mentioned before about Start Point. Do you want to like just tell us a bit about that? What's going on? And I mean, you guys are doing really well, aren't you? Like growing from strength to strength.
So, I guess this was a couple of years ago now. I did an Isles of Scilly trip, and I threw a few invitations out to my close friends. One of them was Barclay, who runs the show at Start Point Spearfishing. And during that trip, he'd just come out of university fairly recently. He'd done a business degree, and he said to me at some point, he said, "Oh, I'd love to sell spearfishing stuff, start a spearfishing business." And I said, "Oh, are you aware that Anthony is selling a spearfishing store in Paignton?" And he just looked at me and said, "Why haven't you told me this before?" And Barclay, he's very much a doer. Like, he doesn't really hang around and are about stuff. Within a week, he'd taken over the business.
Oh, wow.
He didn't mess around. And ever since, it's just, it's been a really fun project. And it's been great to meet so many people in the community that you don't know are there, really. A lot of people don't have a presence on social media, but they're there. And obviously, the spearfishing store was where they went. And it's awesome to chat to these people who you never knew dived, and they've been diving, your local spot for 50 years, in Torbay, and they've got all these stories, and it's been awesome to revive the business, to be honest, help that, and meet so much of a community for sure.
Yeah, it's great. It's always nice going in there as well. I just love the smell as you go into the door and the neoprene just hits you in the face and let the kids off running around, pulling all the spear guns off the rack. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Of course.
Going back to the Isles of Scilly trip, you took your boat, didn't you, Rosie?
That's right. Yeah,
and that's pretty cool. I've always wanted a boat. Even before spearfishing, I do a bit of
I'm still trying to convince him.
Yeah, I'm sure I will at some point. It's more Lou you need to convince, really, rather than me, of course. But yeah, she's a brig, is she? Brig navigator?
Yeah, she's a brig. Yeah, and coming back to that point of getting a boat, I wouldn't necessarily rush into it. Boat. Take your time with it, and I do feel like having a few years under your belt off the shore can help. I'm not saying don't go and get a boat. Obviously, that's a really cool thing to do. But I just feel that for me, spending some time getting all the basics nailed off the shore is really helpful, because the boat is, it depends what you're looking at doing, but it opens up a lot of different avenues. You've got drift diving, pinnacles. You got obviously crazy adventures like going to the Isles of Scilly, but there's a lot of stuff that comes with that, an awful lot of stuff. And you don't want it to become, a chore, or, to take over your enjoyment of things, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean.
There's a lot. Having a boat is a big commitment, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And there's quite a beautiful thing about deciding that you want to go for a shore dive, and half an hour later you're in the water, maybe even caught your first fish, and you're back in 1 hour without a whole boat to hose down. Yeah. So yeah.
How long have you been diving now, Ben? Because I know Richard's more
established. Yeah, what is it now? Probably 18 months. I caught my first fish a year ago in August. So
you've done incredibly. I mean, what you've caught in a year, to be fair though, I probably took 3 years to get those kinds of species, to be honest.
Yeah, it's your fault.
So you are absolutely
without that species hunt.
Species hunt.
Yeah, I think that was a good inspiration to go and shoot some different fish. I think I just love being out in the water, and I might have shot a few more bass than red mullet or whatever else I was shooting, but I think that was really good inspiration to like hone your skills in different terrains and on different fish, different environments. I thought that was it was a really good idea.
Yeah. I have to say, Ben, if that was an opportunity for me, sort of in my first or second year of diving, that would have been so cool. I do look back and think, I wish, that would have been really fun. Because now, to be honest with you, I don't want to really go and look for some of those fish.
Yep.
Because I've kind of done it before, and I've got my own things I really want to do when I go diving.
Yeah.
It's super cool what you guys found.
What is your favourite? Sorry, go on, Rich.
Sorry, man. I'm just going to say, I've decided next year I'm going to target the fish that I didn't manage to get on the species comp this year.
Oh, agreed.
That's going to be my target for next year anyway. So all the ones I didn't get, I'm going to.
There's not many left though, to be fair, because you got gilthead, cod, and trigger, didn't you?
I didn't get trigger in the end. No.
Okay.
No, didn't get trigger. So the ones I didn't get, the ones I'm going to attack next year. So yeah, that was really cool. It's a really good way of like people such as yourself. I mean, I still remember taking Ben out on my little sib off of seeing, and he was like as fresh as they get.
I hadn't caught a fish. Yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah, I do, mate. Yeah. I remember thinking, this water's amazing. I didn't think water got this clear. I don't know if this wasn't that impressive, was it? It was like 3 meters, but to me that was like, wow, this is cool. And and then
that's the way to do it for sure.
Yeah,
go out on someone else's boat.
Yeah. He's come on leaps and bounds. It's crazy, man. It's cool. Thankfully,
Anthony's got one now, hasn't he? So maybe I can put it off for a bit longer. What are you're saying, Joe, that you wouldn't normally go looking for like different things or kind of pushing yourself in that way? What would be your kind of like go to? Let's say you had half a day, Missus is giving you a free ticket to go and do, whatever you want to, what would be your thing?
Well, it's a good question. Kind of different puzzles crop up for me.
Okay.
So looking back a few years, it was triggerfish, for example.
Yeah.
And trying to work them out. And I get my head I be in my bonnet, my head into something, and I want to try and solve it.
Yeah.
So it's been the triggerfish. I'm still trying to really understand gilthead bream because they're really, really interesting. Because as an old fisherman in my village, but I was chatting to him once, and he said he's been fishing around Salcombe for years and years and years. And he said they are very unusual fish. They're sort of, to use his expression, he said they're here today, gone tomorrow. You can have a pinnacle that's absolutely firing, and I've been in those situations, and you can read all the conditions, you can keep a log of tide, time of year, moon phase, whatever it is, and you can go back there at the same time and they're not there. And they are okay. There are some places like Stringweed where they always quite reliable, but they are an interesting puzzle, and that's something I'm still spending a bit of time trying to figure out.
Yeah, I still not see one alive in the water. I saw one dead. There was a box of discarded fish that was on the bottom of the ocean. That was the closest I've been to picking up a gilthead.
Who's throwing away giltheads? That's crazy.
Madness. I guess it was fishmonger. Maybe it rotted down, or I don't know.
Well, they catch them in nets a lot. So
do they?
They may have rotted out in nets or something. Yeah, they do because between November and December they spawn out at sea.
Right.
Some a bit later, some towards March time. So that's when you get the big spawning aggregations that swim into nets.
That's sad,
something to do with it. Well, it's
they're a crazy fish for sure, man. They're so spooky compared to any other fish I've ever hunted. Like, literally came over the top of a ledge and one just saw me and just took off. It's so spooky. And the minute you even move a muscle, they just take off. I mean, not like mullet or whatever else. Really hard fish to hunt for me, anyway. But I got Dan Newman to thank for my one. So,
well, I mean, it's all about the mark for sure. But they can also be in a large group. They can be suicidal. But again, they are unpredictable because I found a bunch this winter, and they were very hard to get close to. They were cutting about in bass, but they wouldn't come in range. I tried everything. They are. You never know what you're going to get with them, so they're good fun.
One for next season. Yeah, I'll Gilthead video. There's at least one anyway on your channel. Is one of my favourites. I quite like the way you kind of pull out some kind of key themes of what spearfishing kind of means to us. You've got like the gilthead is all about the thrill of the hunt. You've got your Scilly Islands trip, which is like that, a sense of adventure. You've got stuff about the turbot and the sole, like, talking about the variety of fish that you can get from the sea. And there's like the one of my other favorites is the flatfish at night where you're picking them up with your hand. That was something that I went to try as soon as I saw that video. I was like, yes, that looks amazing. And it's so scary going out at night, with you shouldn't do it by yourself, but if you do by yourself or even with friends, just by torchlight, that's there's something about conquering your fears and being in a what I guess is like a weirdly scary situation, but although there's as long as you're sensible, it's pretty safe. I just love the variety of your videos and how you kind of bring lots of different aspects together. So yeah, it's cool.
Well, thank you.
And we recently spoke to Mike about your trip to the Azores. How was that?
So blew my mind, to be honest, Ben. It's if you think about everything about spearfishing in England or the UK, it goes to the Azores and everything is in opposite land, to be honest.
Right.
It's not cold, it's warm. The visibility is, instead of being short, it's massive. I mean, we probably had 30 meters viz.
Wow.
And a lot of it was blue water hunting, meaning you can't see the bottom.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the fish, you're not waiting in a spetto, you're swimming towards them, quite literally. And I really couldn't get my head around this. When you get to the mark, a blue water mark, and you've got a wahoo swimming around, and there's some quite comical moments because, I'm not used to having to chase down fish, but the instructor or guide was saying, yeah, swim towards a fish, you'll get it, and couldn't really get my head around this. You swim towards a fish in England, what happens?
It's spook, yeah.
Yeah. So we did a bit of reef hunting out there, which the usual rules applied. We caught things like yellowmouth barracuda and white trevally and some super tasty stuff. But yeah, going out into the blue was very interesting. To have all the rules turned upside down, really.
Yeah.
The way that Mike was describing it sounded amazing, especially like off the Princess Alice Banks, with the rays and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounded magical. I mean, the lads know that I've got a thing for the Azores. I've wanted to go there like spearfishing for a long time.
Desperate.
And I remember messaging you, Joe, when you were over there, and I was like, "Oh, please tell me you're filming."
Yeah. To be honest, the stuff I filmed really was. I didn't really film anything for my channel in particular. So there's a whole heap of action which would just be on the show.
Yeah.
But Mike's and the cameraman are quite keen, happy for me to share bits and bobs from the adventures, which is super cool, to be honest.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
That's awesome. And that amberjack, did you say greater amberjack? That was massive. Yeah. That must be by far the biggest fish you've had before, or does anything come close?
Oh yeah, it's a completely different league. I guess I can't remember, it was 37 or 38 kilos. Yeah, Jeez. More or less 40 kilo fish. And it's funny, on camera, it doesn't look that big, really, in the water. Whenever I watch that clip, I think, doesn't look that big. Yeah, it's...
I was trying to pull it out. I was trying to work it out the other day because I found a weight belt where I was diving the other day. If anybody's lost a weight belt around, I can't really say where. If anybody's lost a weight belt, let me know. But I was trying to drag it up. It had like 7 kilos on it, and actually it was quite difficult to pull it out of the water. I mean, I had my weight belt on as well, obviously, but you couldn't keep your head above the water. You had to kick like pretty hard to do it. And I was just thinking, I know a fish isn't like dense like that, so it's not going to sink in the same way. But at 37 kilograms, you're going to really struggle to move that out of the water, right? How do you?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Okay, so because of the nature of being guided and myself having zero experience blue water spearfishing, we were using a breakaway.
Okay, yeah.
So the shooting line is basically attached straight to a buoy. So when you fire your spear and line is gone.
Yeah.
And then it's a case of pulling that fish in. And that was done over the course of about half an hour.
Wow.
And a lot of it was done from the boat, just slowly letting the fish tire out. And it took time. It took time to do. Obviously, shooting that fish with a reel would have been an entirely different story. And that takes a lot more experience. I mean, if you've got fish that powerful and you don't want a fish wrapping you up if it goes left or right and goes round you, that's a whole different thing. And I don't have the experience to do that yet. But I imagine that would be a come to the surface job and fight it for quite some time for sure.
Yeah, amazing.
Nice. You've also traveled to a few other countries around the world spearfishing. Where have you been, and what's been your favorite so far?
Okay, yeah. So it's really been concentrated into the past year, to be honest. So Turkey, Abu Dhabi, Spain,
nice.
A handful of others. I guess the one that really stands out for me is probably Spain, actually.
Oh, really?
Spain and Abu Dhabi. Turkey, I mean, the Mediterranean has a reputation for being not so fishy. I mean, to be honest, I don't want to sound too disparaging about it, but there was so little life where we went. And at least that I saw. I mean, I don't know how to spearfish the Mediterranean. It was the first time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just, I put in some fairly good dives, I felt, down to sort of 20, 25. And the water was lovely, pretty good. So 5 mil suit, I was doing 2-minute ref holds. And yeah, it's just dive after dive of seeing absolutely nothing. It's just, well, how do they catch fish here?
It's mad.
So, but the guy we were out there with, after he'd had a few cigarettes, he jumped in and was pulling out white sea bream.
Yeah. Sounds like Anthony.
Yeah, right.
He'd have a surface interval every half hour and a few Marlboro Reds, and then grab another octopus. I can catch anything out there, to be honest. Maybe a bit of practice. I'm going to twist Dan Man to take me out there again. I might be able to find something, but I doubt I'll be starting with Dentex. Put it that way.
Nice, awesome, man. What was it for Spain that did it then?
Yeah, so Spain was really fun, to be honest. Can't quite put my finger on what it was. I think it was possibly the familiarity, still being the Atlantic.
Yeah.
It still had some quite crappy visibility and strong currents, and it was rough. So
yeah,
3 things I'm kind of used to. The Mediterranean, I didn't really know what to do in that lovely, warm, clear water.
Is it fishier over in Spain than the UK, or is there more species or variety?
Look, I mean, I was only there for a short period of time. I guess 3 afternoons of diving, but I'd say there's a greater species richness, or should I say diversity, for sure.
Yeah,
and there is the white sea bream, which are just terrific to hunt. They are so much fun. It can't be understated, really, because they're very well trained out there. As Matt Shaw would say, who I was out there with, they're very well trained by Spiros. So if they see you, they are gone. So you really
are they quite shallow, Joe? So like they're not necessarily challenging from a diving perspective, but more from like a strategy kind of like you got to plan your approach, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're spot on. They're extremely shallow. Oh, look, you don't need to dive for them, or at least we weren't diving for them. Well, there's a couple of techniques. One technique which involves diving is to find where they're feeding. So they typically feed on these granite boulders, on the goose barnacles and mussels.
Oh, right, yeah.
So you would dive sort of, and they're doing this at high tide. So you would dive maybe 10 meters away from the boulder and creep along the bottom, doing an agguato, as the Italians would say.
Yeah.
And then you creep up on them that way.
So you like go up to the surface? That's where they hang out?
Right.
Underneath them,
exactly
basically.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. And it's kind of devilishly tricky to get them that way.
But quite rewarding at the same time.
Yeah, your weighting needs to be right.
Yeah.
And you need to be creeping quite a long way. So you do need to do a decent kind of rest interval. But the other way is just kind of, mooching round with the sun on your back, creeping through the stringweed or around the rocks and trying to catch them that way.
With the sun on your back?
There's hole hunting.
Oh, they're in the holes as well?
They're in the holes at low tide, yeah.
But I see.
Even then, it's not as simple as swim up to the hole and shoot them. They are so crafty. They are little rascals, and they will, even in the hole, they'll hide behind a tiny little boulder.
Yeah.
And you have to, at least crafty for me.
And they're pretty fast moving as well.
Plenty gave me the slip. Oh, yeah. Gone with a trail of bubbles. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, we always try and personally just pick up lots of techniques from from what our guests come say. You're saying that the sun on your back is a good way to do that. So that's basically you're going to be casting a shadow onto the fish. Is that what we're saying? So
if you're kind of swimming into the sun, the fish are going to see you so easily
because they can see your face, and that's is that what we're talking about?
You're just kind of fully lit up by the sun, I guess. Whereas if the sun's on your back, there's more of a shadow, and obviously the bright sun is shining because we're very shallow. We're talking, basically surface hunting on the whole, and it does make a difference. And another really key technique that I kind of worked out for myself was to use one of your hands, steady yourself on the rock. So your body's close to the rock. You depending which hand you're shooting with, the other hand is on the rock and stopping you moving about because obviously there's surge and swell. So you're gripping onto this rock to keep still in the shadows. I'm trying to get them that way.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It's super fun. I mean, if you can't you can't equalize very well, or you're
Yeah.
not so keen on diving, it's just a shame they don't come north of the Channel Islands, really.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I guess the
No, true.
fish species have been changing over the years, so maybe it's only a matter of time.
I think there's been a couple. Has there
Has
been
there?
a couple off Chesil?
Okay, yeah.
Possibly on Rod and Line. I might be wrong, but I'm sure I've seen something like that. But what's next for your channel, Joe? Any big plans that you can tell us about, or any big things going on?
That was a good question, really. This year has been a bit of a humble offering, to be honest, being involved in so many projects. But it's a bit of a creative space for me, really. I love putting videos together. So yeah, for the new year, I do have a couple of ideas. But at this stage, I'll probably won't say too much because, they're still kind of formulating through my brain, and I'm not entirely sure. But
do you have like a schedule that you try to stick to when it comes to like uploading content, or do you just, whenever you feel creative and you got something that's put together, you just go for it?
Well, to be honest, this summer I had such good weather that I really couldn't bring myself to be doing any editing.
Yeah.
So I'm not the best of a schedule. I did a couple of videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, when the weather's good, any free time, I want to be spearfishing. And then obviously I'm a dad, so I don't want to be spending time on the computer. I want to be with the kids. So, but recently when we had that terrible weather, I think we've had about 4 or 5 weeks of rubbish. I thought, right, I'm going to get through this summer footage. And so I did weekly uploads for a month or so. Did a few. But yeah, to be honest, schedule wise, not really too worried about schedule. I'd rather make something that's worth watching than something that's kind of put out because of a schedule.
Yeah.
And luckily it's not, it's not a way that I'm really making money or feeling like I need to make money.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess lockdown was a good opportunity to make some videos with some old content as well. If you had some, that was when I started watching your videos. Did that kind of, so I've been out of the water for the longest kind of gap that I've had since I started doing it, just because this has been non-existent. Basically, the weather's been rubbish, then added ear infection and cold and whatever else. It's just the time of year, I guess. But I don't know what my dive time is going to be like. I've got no idea what my dive fitness is going to be like. How did lockdown affect your diving? Remember, this question is for both of you, because you must have been out of the water for weeks and weeks.
Yeah, it definitely affects you for sure. But yeah, you just got to get back into it, haven't you? What was it like for you, Richard?
Well, I actually had quite bad COVID, so I had double pneumonia, and obviously like a lot of scarring on the lungs. So when I went back to diving, my breath was rubbish. Just obviously haven't got that same lung capacity, I guess. But now I find it's coming back. So I'm getting back to the same sort of spot I was before, and depths and breath holds and everything else. So it's all about just being in the water and it's just same as any other thing, isn't it? Like the more you do it, the more you work those muscles out and stretch everything, and it's good.
Yeah, definitely. You don't feel like you lost it though, like 2 months out.
No, no. It took time. It took a while to come back, but I feel like this summer has been one of those summers where I've sort of, I don't know, made the most progress I've made in such a short time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Since obviously having that really bad double pneumonia. So, but yeah, it's difficult for everyone. But I think I haven't been in the water for ages now. I think you've been in recently, haven't you?
I went on Friday.
Yeah. I've been in for ages, but I find usually like the first dive after being in for a while, it's sometimes you don't feel too comfortable, but then like if you get straight back in after that, you feel fine. For me, anyway.
Yeah, makes sense. I think one of the things that came out of lockdown was lots of new divers. It was that kind of like learning to appreciate things a little bit closer, a bit more, appreciate things out of work a bit more, perhaps. I don't know if you found that at the spearfishing store, whether that's grown quite a bit over the since lockdown and all that kind of stuff, Joe.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, through the lockdown, it was crazy, and but yeah, you can understand why. I think a lot of people also realised, what was on their doorstep during lockdown. and
Yeah.
they couldn't travel. We had those periods where you kind of were released, and people would see, my videos or Dan videos or whoever's, and think, "Wow, could try that." And
Yeah.
yeah,
Just as good
loads
as
of
being
people were
abroad.
getting kitted up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
So
That's cool.
I was just saying we went out on Friday with a friend Lawrence who's been on the podcast recently, and we didn't last that long, to be honest. I think Lawrence was out before me. I think yeah, he won't like me saying that, but it was about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, something like that, which I guess is long enough to catch a fish if there are any. The closest I got was the imprint of a place. And a few tiny crabs. So not the most successful thing. Although I did manage to open up a few ghost pots, which is always quite satisfying. I was going to ask you though, Joe, as a bit of an expert, both through the store and your experience, what would you recommend for a winter spearfishing gear list?
It's a good question. First, really key point is definitely socks and gloves can't have holes in. You can't get away with that through the winter.
Lawrence,
your fingers and feet get numb, as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, new socks and gloves, unfortunately, are inevitable, but it's worth having, just keep your good ones for the winter and then hopefully get a few winters out of them and get some Crocs so you're not walking in your socks because it just trashes them straight away.
Yeah, it's a good one. Actually, socks and gloves. I was going to ask you. You can get a smooth skin interior or a lined interior. The smooth skin. Do I mean smooth skin? Like an open cell?
You do, yeah. Open cell, yeah.
I presume that's going to be much warmer because it sticks to your skin. Is that still the case, even though you're moving your hands around a lot?
Yeah, 100%. So, I'd say biggest difference I notice is with socks. Having the open cell lined sock. In fact, I tested the open cell lined sock versus a closed cell.
What, one on each foot?
And I found,
how did you?
No, I just did. I basically forgot my socks one time and used my 5mm socks.
Yeah.
And I used some 3mm open cell same time of year, and I was much warmer in the 3mm open cell socks than the 5mm socks. I don't know if that sounded extremely confusing, but
no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't need a 5mm sock basically for the UK. To be honest, I think I wore my 3mm socks in Norway, open cell, where the water was between 0 and 2 degrees one day, and I was okay. It makes a massive difference. So that's why we stock the immersion ones.
Yeah.
The immersion socks are open cell inside, and it makes a huge difference for sure.
Just got to cut your nails first, because I've had some open cell socks and I tore them to shreds because I didn't. Yeah, I know it sounds gross, but I ended up with like little nail holes all the way along the front. You've done it too, Richard.
I'm laughing because it's when you do cut your nails that you put your wetsuit on and then you spread everything. That's what I normally find.
maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But yeah, there's certainly a few holes in the front. Yeah, no, that's some really good advice. Cheers, mate. Anything else for the gear list? I guess 7mm suit.
7mm for sure. And if you're on the boat, it has to be smooth skin, really.
Right.
Through the winter. I mean, it depends how long you want to be out. I mean, if you want to be out all day, the smooth skin is a game changer. It's ridiculous. The difference is insane. If you're just shore diving, then that's not so important. But for the wind chill factor, the smooth skin is hard to beat.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Trying to think. New socks, gloves, smooth skin. Main things.
When it comes to suits, I was having a conversation with someone the other day around different types of neoprene. I don't know if you know much about different types of neoprene or whether there's any particular types that you should look out for in a suit. Anything that's particularly like higher quality or lower quality? Is there much variance? Should you look for a different? Or maybe I'm overthinking it.
It's a bit of a minefield, really, because to be honest, most brands at the moment won't necessarily tell you what neoprene they're using because there's such a neoprene shortage that they'll just get hold of anything they can.
I see.
There's only a few brands you can really pick and choose, and they're probably likely to be. I'm not sure, but I mean, it's a minefield. I mean, if you go to China and go to the Sheiko factory and people say, "Oh, that suit's no good. It's made of Shaco neoprene." They have hundreds of different neoprenes at Shaco, and it's
Right.
it's it'd be awesome to go over there and see it all, and
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think the key point is these airspaces inside the neoprene and how, as I understand it, how big those airspaces are.
Bigger the better.
If you have a denser neoprene, it's more going to withstand compression at depth more.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a neoprene that isn't so dense will be more supple and soft and flexible, but isn't going to last as long. So
the balance.
It's all a balance. It would be really nice if we could get more neoprene for the start point smooth skins, because they are Hiwa neoprene, which seems to be invincible. I mean, having dived with my start point jacket intensely for a long time, it just hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But whether or not we can get more of that neoprene, there's a question mark, because it's just got so expensive. But I really hope we can, and I'm keep twisting Barclay's arm, because it's the warmest suit I've ever had, that type of neoprene.
Yeah.
Whereas I used to use some of the Yamamotos and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I did have the smooth skin jacket I had before that. It just did not last as long. So
how long should a wetsuit last, do you reckon?
I mean,
obviously it depends how often you're using it, but let's say you're diving roughly every week over the summer and, half that rest of the year.
It's quite a tricky question to answer, really, because I mean, I'd like to get at least 5 years out of my suit, to be honest.
Wow.
But then again, I have 3 suits. So I have Bowshot Espadon 8mm that I took to Norway.
Right.
That 3 suits, and it sounds a bit ridiculous, but I have a 5mm that I use places like the Azores, and then I have a 7mm a closed cell, which I use for pretty much the UK through most of the year, to be honest.
Right.
And by spreading it between the 3 suits, I'm hoping I can get, a long, long time out of those suits.
Yeah.
To be honest. And learning the basics of Black Witch as well can extend the suit.
Yeah, you should see my gloves, Joe. Should have brought them as a prop.
Yeah. Okay. Cut tips off other gloves and stick them onto your gloves, whatever, make them last for sure.
Yeah.
So, Joe, sticking on the theme of winter, what's it like for you finding vis in the winter? I know for me, sometimes it can be a lot better, because you don't have lots of algae bloom and sediment and stuff like that. So, do you find it easier to find vis in the winter?
Where I am, there's a lot of estuaries.
Yeah.
So, because of the higher rainfall generally associated with the winter, it never gets that good. It really depends how much it rains, I guess. Yes, you don't have that algae, but you've got more, outflow, agricultural runoff. So, but I mean, that said, it can be awesome, can be really good. It's about understanding conditions for sure. It's about, that's having used things like Magic Seaweed and windy.com for years now. I can generally look at those and just know, I know the visibility today is going to be 5 meters.
Yeah.
But the other problem we have through the winter is the ground swells can cause trouble. So, I mean, I generally say visibility in the winter is much worse. But in my experience, where I am, but you can have, variation.
Cool.
So what fish do you hunt in the winter? I've seen you hunt mullet. Is there anything else that you would hunt during the winter months?
So, still bumping into flatfish, especially in sort of sandy coves. You're getting the flounder coming in quite shallow in the winter.
Yeah.
Although I don't tend to look for flatfish that much. I tend to just be happy when I bump into them.
Yeah.
Pollock, probably I would say there's more around in the winter, at least in the southwest, to see more around. Certain pinnacles they are probably using to spawn, because I've caught them at certain areas off South Devon, and they are spawning as you catch them through the winter, which obviously is ethically questionable. But if you watch Trawlerman, you'll know that every every wreck in the channel is ring fenced, and the future of pollock's uncertain, really.
Yeah.
So it's just, again, trying to not take too much of anything, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got your pollock, your mullet. Obviously, bass are off limits, but it's nice to see them because during a mild winter, they're around. I'd say they're the main ones, and then you've got your crustaceans. But again, I mean, on paper, people will say lobsters breed, kind of at any time in the year or mainly during the summer months. But in my experience, through the winter, that's when they're breeding.
Right.
I see them pairing up December. Often through December, January, you'll see two lobsters mating in a hole.
Yeah.
Most of the females have got eggs are buried. So lobsters, I think you have to, again, just be careful with what you're taking.
Yeah.
But they are there, and as long as you're taking males of a certain size, it's a sustainable fishery, it would appear. So
yeah, definitely.
Spot
you've got
on.
them too.
All right, mate.
Yeah.
Well, final section then. You might be pleased to hear. We're on to the listeners' quick fire questions. We'll take it in turns. I'm just working out which one I need to go with first or second, so I don't get that one there. Richard, you go first.
Yeah, no worries. So, your least favorite thing you've eaten from the ocean?
That's really a good question. Because it's my least favorite and close to being one of the best is sea urchin. And I don't know if it's the time of year or what, but I plucked a sea urchin off a pinnacle a few years ago in April, and it tasted like pineapple. It was sweet, the gonads inside.
Yeah.
I tried to repeat this process. Well, I did repeat this process.
Just not as enjoyable.
In the summer, and what I put in my mouth was the most disgusting thing I've ever tried. It was horrendous. Sea urchin.
I've had sea urchin at a fish market before, and it was amazing. I'm still waiting to find one when we're out with the lads so we can try it. Because I've heard a couple of stories of people trying them in the summer and they haven't been that good.
So I think it sounds so weird, but the gonads I ate in the spring were quite yellow in color.
Yeah.
And then when I ate them in the summer, they didn't have that same color. They were kind of off, slightly grey in color. So I don't know if they've
spawned or whatever.
Perhaps they've spawned and then you're I mean, I think it took me off sea urchin. God.
We've got a quite a specific request here. When is the Start Point smooth skin 7mm going to be back in stock in size large? I want one. I don't suppose you can really answer that one.
Well, it comes down to the neoprene situation. At the moment, I can't really give an answer because I don't know. But if you can't get hold of that one, the Beauchart Espadon, which we are, Barclays getting those in at Start Point spearfishing. They're brilliant, to be honest.
Cool.
My 8mm Beauchart Espadon in Norway in 0 degrees was toasty warm. So it's a thing of wonder.
That's cool. Nice. Are you getting the 8mm version in? What are you getting in?
Yeah, I think we're getting 7 and 8mm in.
Cool.
You don't need 8mm for England at all.
But it's tempting, right?
Ben's thinking about his Norway trip.
So I use mine a bit in the middle of winter here, to be honest. But again, just more to kind of spread out the use of that and my other skin and try something new.
And that leads us on to the next one. Does wearing a smooth skin make you feel all erotic?
That's a good question.
I think I know who asked that
one. Why am I treating it seriously? That's kind of ridiculous. Maybe a touch, but yeah.
Maybe when you're diving with this person and you're by yourselves, maybe.
Yeah. The next one was, how long has he been fishing for? Which is 10 years, I believe, Joe. We answered that one earlier. And what age did you start? What age did you start? I don't know how old you are, Joe.
Oh, God. So what was I, 21? No, don't. It's okay. I'm 31 now, so.
There you go.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Oh, cool.
Young lad.
Yeah. And the same person again. Why can't he be rushed?
That's a good. Well,
There's got to be a story behind this. Come on.
yeah. Well, that's probably all part of my spearfishing thick. I like to take my time. Spearfishing time for me is my chillaxing time, to be honest. And when I'm diving with Mr. Man, he is very excited and very yeah. Get back in the water, you know. Why is your suit not on? I've had my suit on for 10 minutes. So you know, Joe, why have you thrown all the lube on the slipway? Well, I don't know. It's taking my time.
How much did the Azores trip cost? And is there a contact over there that does spearing charters?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm pretty fortunate that I wasn't really paying to go there. I was being paid to go there.
Yeah.
But it really depends what you want to do. We went out there with DBM Azores, it's called.
Mhm.
So if you just Google DBM Azores, that's Pedro and his co-pilot, whose name escapes me now. But yeah, they're not cheap. But then again, it depends what you want to do. If you want to do inshore, mainly reef hunting, or inshore pinnacles for the blue water, it may not be so bad. But if you're going with 3 or 4 of you, you spread the cost.
Mm-hmm.
How do you progressively spearfish deeper and deeper? Best advice for diving 10 meters plus?
Oh, wow. So, yeah, as I did touch on earlier, I'd say for me, I'd say it was a couple of meters a year, really, I gained. So for me, it was a very slow process. I think for sure you're going to get the most out of want to dive deeper, going on a free diving course, and learning all the equalization technique and proper filling technique. But yeah, otherwise it comes down to relaxing. Just have to relax and be comfortable in the water. Focus on your gear first, and then the rest will come, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Top 5 favorite fish to eat that he's speared.
Okay, so in first place, definitely amberjack, and not just because of the epic capture. I have to admit, the way Chef Mike cooked it on the grill, it was absolutely astonishingly good. In second place, probably gurnard. Third place, gilthead bream. Where are we? Fourth place, can I say scallops? Is that a fish? Yeah, probably scallops. Fifth place, brown crab, I reckon.
Nice.
Good stuff. And
our favorite mate, Dan Mann, how do I get to God tier?
How do I get God tier? Yeah, so Dan is a good friend, and we often, exchange about doing things really, really well, which is God tier, catching God tier fish, making God tier videos. I mean, look, when it comes to videos, for example, I think making more videos people are interested in would help, and working on the production technique for sure.
Nice one. And final one, has he ever got his SD card back from the Airbnb in Turkey?
Yeah, it's a real shame, but no. I did go out there and film for a week and leave it behind.
Oh no!
Oh no way!
Yeah, but what I can say is if you're flying back from somewhere, say 4 a.m, it's best to get a bit of sleep rather than to go to several bars / nightclubs and then pack your things.
No worries. Well, it's been epic having you on, Joe. Really appreciate you coming on. And as Ben said at the beginning, you were one of the names that we originally planned on getting on from the beginning, didn't we, Ben?
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. It's always great to see you, mate, and really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you both for the opportunity. I really enjoyed myself. So.
Yeah, no worries. It's been awesome.
Keep it up. The podcast is really good to listen to. So
thanks,
mate. Appreciate that, man. Cheers.
Many more episodes.
Yeah, we're going to keep bashing them out as long as we don't kill each other. Yeah, that's all good. Cheers, Joe. Appreciate that.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
See you soon. Bye. Bye.
Hey, that was awesome, man. Really enjoyed that episode.
Yeah,
it was really good. The only thing that I do want to say is a lot of the stuff that was recorded because obviously I'm able to listen to the podcast. So I listen to the podcast, both parts of the recording before you've edited and put it out. There's a load of stuff in there that I think should have been left in because Joe really actually quite enjoyed that I wasn't there. and was relieved.
Do you think he was worried before coming on? That he might have to
I
talk
think
to
so.
you?
I love you, Joe. I wasn't going to rip you a new one. I promise.
Yeah, it's a good job there wasn't any video, man, because if you could see his face, he was super relieved you were not here.
What, he was relieving himself over me? Lol. No, it was really, really good. Loads of information.
Yeah. Like it's just another guess, isn't it? That we said from the start, we're like, yeah, we'll get them on eventually, and yeah, it happened, and it was just it was epic. Man. It was as good as I anticipated. Let's put it that way. But yeah, just so much information. Like it's just such a natural spearer as well. Yeah. So yeah,
I do want to start watching that because one thing I can't remember because I obviously listened to it a couple of weeks ago. Remind me of the name of the show that Joe is involved with. Is it Meat Eater?
No, it's Fishing the Wild.
Fishing Wild, that was it.
Yeah, on the outdoor channel, outdoor TV channel.
Yeah, and that's with obviously that's with Mike
Robinson. Yeah,
Mike Robinson. We've had him on. No, I need to get into that and start watching it. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've seen some snippets actually. It's really good. So yeah, it's worth a follow if you're on Instagram. But yeah, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that one. And yes, we've got some cool guests coming up as well soon. So we've actually got an American guest coming on next week. So it's Captain Jack Spiro, if anyone's ever heard of him. But yeah, he's going to be coming on, and he does some crazy spearing. They literally shoot fish that are swimming alongside sharks. So.
Christ.
Yeah, that's
they've either got big balls or they're fucking stupid.
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Have you ever seen a shark in the water?
No.
I was looking through. So me and the wife are planning a trip to Australia at some point in the future, and I'm hoping to get out and do some spearing. I might have mentioned that before. But I've been watching shooting it's cobia, isn't it? Shooting the cobia off the back of the shark. I was thinking that's just absolutely bonkers. Like who would have the balls to do that? Not me.
None of us. Let's put it that way. But
no,
serious mental insanity.
Yeah,
I also saw a few videos of some sharks in the UK as well, which I hadn't seen before. I don't know if YouTube algorithm just threw some things up, but yeah, there's a few interesting videos of sharks in the UK, like mako sharks and a few other kind of like the bigger scary species, thresher sharks as well. I didn't realize there were so many sharks in the UK.
Yeah, but he does some crazy spearfishing, man. Like honestly, he's just crazy stuff like off his jet ski and all sorts. It's really cool. But yeah, so we'll get him on next week and we'll have a good blast there. And yeah, some cool stuff coming up for the new year. It's been a really good year this year. So I want to thank everyone. Hope you all had a good Christmas and New Year. And we're really looking forward to the next season, man.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and everybody drink loads on New Year and have it, see the year out. And then next year is going to be amazing, I think.
It'll be epic. Oh, by the way, it's my birthday on the New Year's Eve. Have you got me anything?
I'm going to, no comment.
Actually, no, maybe I don't want a present from you.
You definitely don't want a present from him.
Jesus Christ, me and Lou have been talking for ages.
Oh, no.
No, happy birthday on the 31st. So your birthday's on the 31st?
Yeah.
Ah, cool. Nice. It must be
one stone.
Nice. An excuse for a few drinks.
Hang on. Now I understand the squareness.
Squareness?
Well, Rachel calls you a square.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. So the reason is because every birthday, everybody's just getting pissed for New Year's and not singing Happy Birthday, Ben.
And you think it's affected my mental state? Yeah.
I think from now on we need to move your birthday to the 30th of November. Just change it by default.
Right.
And then I think it will make you more of a circle.
More of a circle. Apparently I'm an oval or triangle. I can't remember which one it was.
No, happy birthday, Ben, and Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Happy New Year, guys.
Happy birthday, buddy, and Happy New Year, guys. And looking forward to the next one, man.
We'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Sweet.
Cheers,
Catch you
guys.
later.
Cheers. Bye.